Tucker's like Howie. They don't like to be wrong, so they double check things. They fact check things, you might say. But this story basically started when Tucker said, listen, the NSA, someone from the NSA leaked to me that they have been spying on my emails and that they plan to leak these emails to the press so that they can, destroy my show. Now, I want to play for you before we bring on our next guest, who has a fabulous piece in the Federalist that is getting picked up everywhere because it really does summarize why everyone hates the mainstream media so much. But before we get to that, Glenn Greenwald was on with Tucker, and he explained why there's this, this non-interest in this story by the mainstream media and by supposed journalists. And listen to what Glenn said. This is cut 4.
In 2017, when General Flynn, who was in the crosshairs of the entire deep state under Obama, was speaking with Ambassador Kislyak, they leaked the contents of that communication, intercepted communications between a Russian official and the incoming national security advisor to the Washington Post. It was as grave of a crime as it gets under the U.S. Code. To this day, not only don't we know who did the leaking, no one cares because they hate General Flynn. He's not their ideology, and therefore they think it's justified. That's the reaction here. Oh, it's Tucker Carlson. He's a conservative. We don't like him, and so we don't even care if the NSA was doing this, but it is illegal.
Now, my next guest, Jordan Davidson, can speak to this. Jordan from the Federalist, thank you so much for coming on the Grace Curley Show.
Thanks for having me, Grace.
Now, Jordan, I want to specifically talk about that comment from Glenn, because what your article points out is it's worse than that. It's not just that they don't care. It's not that, the Jonah Goldbergs of the world don't care. It's that they actively tried to paint Tucker out as a conspiracy theorist when he brought this up. Can you kind of go into that for my audience?
Absolutely. What we're seeing here, Grace, is something that we've seen repeatedly over the last decade, really, with the corporate media. And what they're doing is they're deliberately running interference for the government and for its malfeasance. So we have people who peddled the Russia hoax, like Brian Stelter and others at CNN, Washington Post, Vice, Vanity Fair, all of these corporate media outlets who are repeatedly repeating lies about what's going on for the sake of political gain. And like I said, this is nothing new. This is something that we've seen over the last 5 to 10 years, yet it continues to happen, and people want to put stock in good faith in the corporate media. Well, how can you do that when they're constantly denying what's actually happening?
No, you're absolutely right. And Jordan, I had this conversation earlier today with one of my coworkers, and I was, I always talk about how I used to kind of excuse this kind of sloppiness when the mainstream media makes mistake after mistake, because, the internet makes things a lot faster. People react quicker to things. But what's seeming now to me is that the mainstream media wants to be wrong, even if it's for just a little bit. And to your point, Russiagate, all of these hoaxes, they have to have learned by now that they've been wrong every single time. So you'd think when Tucker Carlson makes this claim that they would maybe take a pause. Why do you think they still rush in to paint him as this madman rather than give it a beat and see how it plays out?
That is because the corporate media is deliberately corrupt. They are they're echoing and repeating the same lies that the Democrats. Eric Swalwell, the guy who still sits on the House Intelligence Committee, come out and tell Tucker to settle down after the NSA accusations. And the White House said the same thing. They kind of brushed them off and said, this isn't true at all. And then, just a few minutes after Tucker's first segment aired, accusing the NSA of this, corporate media journalists were saying the same thing. And they were repeating these lies in this leftist echo chamber to push a progressive agenda. And they do this because they continue to profit off of it. They continue to gain, and they continue to get what they want from it. They get what they want. They score the political points. They score what they want profit-wise. And, there's no telling what else they can do with it.
Yeah, I want to read some of these from your article, and I'll tweet it out to my listeners. It's definitely worth reading. I mean, it makes you want to tear your hair out because it's so frustrating. But all right, so CNN's Oliver Darcy says Tucker Carlson is Alex Jones. Stelter asked, is it a stretch to say Tucker Carlson is the new Alex Jones? Vox's Aaron Rupar says Kevin McCarthy's call for a congressional investigation of Tucker Carlson's evidence-free, that's a key word with them, evidence-free claims about the NSA reading his emails show how shamelessly Trumpers manufacture controversy. Now, this is from the Daily Beast. We just reached the point where this all makes sense. Tucker is having a mental breakdown, tweeted a columnist from MSNBC, CNN, and the Daily Beast. Tucker Carlson actually thinks the NSA is spying on his email, read a Vice headline. Sure they are, babe. The outlet's Twitter caption added. Jordan, it's not just that they deny it, and they, like you said, they deliberately try to run cover for these intelligence agencies, but there's also a level of smugness to it that seems to just be getting worse. Do you notice that? I mean, that last line, sure they are, babe. I don't understand who they think they're winning over with this kind of condescending dismissal of any contrary belief.
Absolutely. I mean, they totally think that the American public is too peasantry for them. They think that they can gaslight them into believing something that isn't true. And I mean, even my headline, I call it out directly. I say, check out all the blue check morons who swore the corrupt intel community would never spy on Tucker Carlson. Like, they truly believe that they can gaslight the American people and continually run interference for, bureaucratic malfeasance. And if that's not the most insulting thing, and if that doesn't make you lose trust in media as a whole, I don't know what else will.
And I think I know the answer to this, Jordan, but it's still worth saying. Do you think anyone, or have you seen anyone backtracking on this? I checked Jonah Goldberg's today, and he said that some kid from the Federalist insulting him is, did you see that? I don't know if that was referring to your article.
Did. It was, yes. I'm some kid.
He said, some kid from the Federalist. And I was thinking to myself, that must be Jordan. I'm having her on the show today. But it doesn't seem like anyone is feeling especially apologetic or maybe saying, sorry, Tucker, I shouldn't have accused you of being like someone. What was the line, Jordan? Someone who says their dog is telling them to murder people.
Yeah, no, we're not going to see anyone walk this back, just like we didn't see anyone walk back the Russia hoax. I mean, there's very clear evidence in both of these examples of what happened, and these people are too corrupt and too self-righteous to admit their mistakes. And it's something that we've seen over and over and over and expect it to change.
And lastly, Jordan, you're breaking up a little bit there, but I did want to ask you about your other piece on parents and critical race theory, specifically because now Joy Reid and others are describing parents who oppose critical race theory as being QAnon people. This seems to be a trend. It's like you have so much material to write about. If you ever decide that you don't like something the left is pushing, if you disagree with their agenda and you decide to speak up and show courage, you're going to be labeled a complete nutcase. And that goes with critical race theory as well.
Yeah, and we're seeing that over and over. I mean, I just wrote an article yesterday about the teachers' unions, who are very, largely leftist supporting organizations, and they came out and during the same corporate media spiel and said, critical race theory isn't happening in schools. We're not teaching that. And then, of course, they host people like Ibram X. Kendi at their teachers' conference. It's clear gaslighting, and once again, it's this self-righteous looking down on the American people and thinking that they can run interference for things and pretend like things aren't happening when they actually are.
Yeah, and telling people, it's one thing to tell Tucker Carlson it's not happening, and I'm sure there's Trump deranged people who enjoy, the left making fun of Tucker Carlson, but to tell parents something's not happening when they know it is, and to ridicule them as being racist or dumb is, I don't see that playing out well for the Democrats, but I encourage them to go down this road because hopefully it will bode well for Republicans in 2022. Jordan Davidson from The Federalist, where can people find you on Twitter and read all of your work?
I'm at Jordan G. Davidson on Twitter, and you can pull me up on the Federalist website as well.
All right, well, Jordan, if Jonah Goldberg is attacking you on Twitter, you are doing something right, so keep up the good work.
Thank you, Grace.
All right, guys, now when we get back, I want to take your calls on this. I think it's a huge, huge story. I do. I think everyone, and I was discussing with the mail room manager a little bit earlier about spying. And you always see jokes about there's an FBI agent watching you in your laptop. That's why you cover up the camera. There's always, memes and jokes about it. But this should make people very nervous because the reason that the left hates Tucker is because I agree with Glenn Greenwald, and we'll play more of him on the other side. But the reason I think they hate him, which I hadn't thought about until recently, is that he's actually showing courage. He's a real journalist. He's breaking stories. He's questioning the status quo. And the left, as much as they want to paint themselves as these heroic blue suit wearing warriors, they're hacks. You know, all they do is, you know, boost up Joe Biden. All they do is ask about ice cream flavors and dogs and whatever it is, PDA with Dr. Jill and Joe. They're totally bought and paid for, and they know it. And so they hate the idea that someone foils that, juxtaposes that, and makes them look even stupider. They want everyone, because if everyone was running on this propaganda platform like the left, and we had no options, you know, if we did what Brian Stelter wanted us to do, if we took out Fox News, if all the cable companies banned them, if the Grace Curley show went off the air, if the Howie Carr show went off the air, then the only consumption people would be able to have is MSNBC, CNN. And then what Joy Reid is saying becomes true, you know? And I think they hate that opposing viewpoint. And I agree with Jordan Davidson. I also agree with Neil McCabe that we need to find out who unmasked Tucker. Jack Posobiec tweeted that out today. Who asked for this? Because if this were someone from CNN or MSNBC, I can assure you it would be a big deal to Jonah Goldberg. I can assure you that Eric Swalwell wouldn't be saying, settle down, to a CNN reporter. It's a complete double standard. And it's hilarious to see how quickly he was proven correct. You know, I remember when this first came out, someone on Twitter put it really well. They said, here's how it goes. This is the routine with the left. You make an accusation. Take Tucker, for example, says the NSA spying on me. The first step is, no, that's absurd. That would never happen. That's ludicrous. You're nuts. And then the second is, well, even if it did happen, it doesn't really matter. So we're on to that second stage now. We're on to the, well, there's you can go on one side or the other of this second stage. One side is, well, that's what you get for requesting an interview with Putin, who, by the way, did an interview with NBC News. This isn't, breaking stuff. A lot of news networks reach out to foreign leaders and ask for interviews. But you could have that level of stupidity where you say, well, what do you think was going to happen? Maybe if you didn't interact with Putin, you wouldn't be getting spied on. The ends justify the means, I guess, is that explanation. And then the second part of it is, well, even if they did this, it's not a big deal. You know, it's really not a big thing. Unmasking, it was intercepted. This is what happens. It's all gaslighting, though. Jordan Davidson hit it really well. It's all gaslighting. They know this is a big deal. They know this is a big deal, but they're going to keep telling us that it's not. And I want to hear from the audience. If you guys are following this story, if you have any questions about it, I'll do my best to answer it. I'm still learning a lot about it myself. 844-500-4242, but I do find it fascinating. It's true what they say at Perfect Smiles. Change your smile, change your life. I saw the change with Howie, with the mailroom manager. Many people walk around not smiling because they aren't happy with their teeth. Howie Carr is not one of those people. He made the decision a long time ago to get his teeth fixed at Perfect Smiles, and they're amazing. He always gets compliments. It drives me crazy. We go on the road together. We're at a remote, person after person after person. Wow, your teeth are beautiful. It really is amazing to watch their testimonial videos at perfectsmiles.com. You can see exactly how much this helps people and changes their life and changes how they see themselves. It's just incredible transformations. Dr. Houghton really is an artist, and he's an extremely nice person. You will feel very comfortable with him. He takes his job so seriously. And Perfect Smiles is conveniently located in Nashua, New Hampshire. Parking is free. The staff is warm and welcoming. And if you've been wanting to upgrade your look for years, don't wait any longer. Contact them today and look at their video testimonials. Go to perfectsmiles.com. That's perfectsmiles.com. Change your smile, change your life. 844-500-4242 or text in 63566. Start your text with the word Curley. We'll be right back with more. It's the Grace Curley Show.
She's never held office, but she paid the whiskey priest's monthly rent once.